Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Political Head Trauma. It is Juneteenth, the holiday, and it is also Friday night, which you don't normally see me on a Friday night. So welcome. If you're tuning in, we decided that we really wanted to get our only guest tonight is Scott Bertolio, and he is running for school board. And so I needed to get to talk to him before the primary was complete. And so he wasn't available for the regular Wednesday night show. So I hope if you're following us now that you are tuned in, because I'm excited to talk to him and hopefully get to know him better and let all of you get to know him better. So apologies. We had some technical difficulties that I could have never gotten through without my producer, Mr. Dwayne. Thank you for your help as always, friend. Are you back there in backstage right now?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, well, it looks like we solved the problems. I'm going to go see if I can get your Facebook connected, okay?
Fantastic. Thank you. If you're just tuning in and you're looking to watch us, remember we have support from KMMU, Main Street Media. You can look on their YouTube channel, Rumble. We also have our own Rumble, YouTube. So I hope you'll tune in. We're on X.
Yes, best place to find us is kmmu.org. And I'm going to disappear, and it's all your show now. And I expect, what time is your guest coming?
6:30. So he'll be on in 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll watch for him.
Thank you, Mr. Producer.
You are welcome.
So, YouTube, Political Head Trauma, KMMU, and get us on X. And please engage with us. We want to hear your comments. We want you to chime in. I know that people kind of go, well, it's a local school board election. I really don't care about that, especially if you don't live in Tooele County. However, the importance of it is there is a school board election going on all over the country somewhere. And I can't think of a more grassroots seat than your local school board. They have such an impact on you. And I really believe that the more engaged you are in elections across the line, but local elections, the better your life will be. And the more control you have over what's happening in your day-to-day life. So I know I'm always telling you, make sure you vote. And I mean that. I think that your vote does matter, especially in a local election, especially in a school board. Now, here in Utah, we don't have partisan races for school board. So that's something I'd love to see changed. The governor changed it where our state school board turned partisan, and here's why I loved it. I love that a person would register with the party that they feel accountable to, the platform that they feel accountable to. And I think when you're dealing with school board and the mass amount of money that is thrown into school boards and, the education in your county, I think it's important to know how somebody votes. And I say that very, very upfront. If you are a Democrat and you believe that spending money on certain programs or investing in social justice, or that kids are going to benefit from books about sex, same-sex or trans-sex or whatever it is, if that's the road you're on, I want to know that. And I want to know that because I look for a candidate who believes in small government, who believes in limited taxes and smart spending. I also want a candidate that wants to focus our kids on reading and arithmetic and writing, the things that our country is doing a terrible, terrible job at. And the reflection of that is in test scores. So I think when you have a bad teacher morale and you've got terrible test scores, I want somebody who's focused on the problem. And if it is about teachers' wages, then let's pull some programs that maybe kids don't need to succeed as adults and get teachers paid more. But I think partisanship is how, as a state, that we could actually fix that. And hopefully we will.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think you're live on Facebook.
Fantastic.
Go take a look on your phone. And I think you're good.
Right now. Let's see. I'm just checking. It's not coming up for me yet. I still don't see it. Thanks for hanging in with me, guys. I'm trying to get our Facebook page, Political Head Trauma on Facebook. I'm still not seeing it, Mr. Producer.
Try refreshing it. Try refreshing it.
Yeah, I keep refreshing it. There we are. I see us. Fantastic. Hi, Facebook family. Thank you, Dwayne, for your help. If you are new to the show, my name is Holly, and Political Head Trauma is a baby of mine and Jared Anderson. And Jared is currently in just working and going to school and with his family. So I'm kind of handling the podcast from here on, but I'm excited to have you on, and I hope that you will tune in tonight for Scott Bertolio, who we are having on. He is running for a school board in District 5, which is my personal district, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to get him on. And he just had a missionary return Wednesday, and I thought about, well, maybe we'll do the show Friday. So many of you that have tuned in Fridays in the past, welcome to Friday. We are back. Mr. Producer and I are figuring out if this will be the show time going forward. But I really hope you guys can join us tonight and get on Facebook, leave your comments and questions. When you have a candidate that is running for a seat like this, it's so important that they hear from people, especially people with kids, especially people with a high tax dole that has been just rising, which is anyone who owns a home. And a lot of us in Stansbury Park. We've seen a lot of high property tax. So over the course of the last, I think, 5 years, mine's gone up thousands. So I don't know how parents, I don't know how grandparents, retired folks, I don't know how people on a set income or fixed income can afford taxes to rise like this at this level. And at the same time, we have our test scores are miserable, and so are our teachers. So there's got to be something we can do, and I'm excited to hear from this candidate because I'm hoping that he has talked to a lot of people. I know he has. He's been all around my area, and I know that he has been trying to reach out to as many people as possible. So we're going to do that tonight. So if you like what you hear tonight, please consider sharing. Definitely like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube or on Facebook, join our channel, join our page. We love to have new people. We love differing ideas. We just want to help inform the populace before they vote. And many of you already have, I'm sure, because ballots have been out for a while. But Election Day is Tuesday, so we want to really help and make sure that you've got information on candidates that you see their names on, and you'll get to talk to them like me. So starting off, I think he's going to join us any minute, so I don't want to get too in depth. But I'll just give you a short introduction about him. He is running for District 5. He's lived in Stansbury Park for over 22 years. And he is married to his beautiful wife, Marissa, and they have 6 amazing kids. So definitely knows the school system with 6. He graduated from Utah State University with a bachelor's degree in business management. And he helped own a small business. And he's been an assistant manager at Walmart, a substitute teacher, a teacher, and he's currently working for the Tooele Army Depot. So he has business knowledge, which I really appreciate in a candidate, especially if they're going to be touching your tax dollars. I think it's important that any money spent should be well thought through and not thought of as endless supply. And of course, when you want to raise taxes 100% nearly, and it's to cover something that you may not have expected during a build of a gigantic high school, and the people are on the toll for that, that absolutely needs to be thought through. Now, I was at the meeting last summer when hundreds of people showed up to listen to the school board in their truth and taxation meeting. It was amazing how many people got up and spoke against raising taxes even a little bit. And the school board listened for 2 hours before they got through everybody that was on the list to speak. And then they voted. Not one person got up and said, hey, I can understand this. This is a good idea. Not one person. And I was amazed at how many different reasons people gave as to why it's not a good idea. I mean, they weren't just recycling one another's ideas. They were using real life experience and how this has affected them, their family, their kids, or their jobs as teachers and educators. And all of them were there, including retired folks. So to watch that happen, and then at the end of the meeting, the school board decided to make that vote. And they voted against all the citizens in that room. And the anger was so apparent. People were so upset. And I was, and if you follow our show for very long, Jared and I did record some of it on our live, and I left that meeting just being so disheartened and really changing my views of how the school board should run. And I even said when I ran for State House that I want to push that the school board is partisan race. That's a big deal to me. I want to know how these people see tax dollars and how these people spend tax dollars and what they think is important. And that platform that they follow is a good tell, in my opinion. So not to say Democrats are terrible in office, but what they want to fund and how they want to fund it doesn't always meet with the values of the dominant party out in this county. And so when people ask, well, how did we get here in schools? Well, that's how. Because we don't have to ask how they vote. In fact, many of them keep their voting record private so that you don't know. And I get it. I understand why. But I also know that if we're going to have an excellent education in this county, it's got to be at the most local level. And also, parents have to be so highly engaged in their kids' education and have a working relationship with teachers and their child, because that is also lacking. And you can't make parents do that, but you should always mention it, at least, that they are the difference between a highly successful child sometimes. And being a partner with the teacher, it also goes a long way when it comes to raising your child in a way where they still question with boldness, but they're interested and they're excited about school. So having your parents engaged is very, very important. So with that, let's introduce Scott.
I just wanted to tell you Scott was here. I don't know if that's on, but okay. Shall I bring him on for you?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Welcome, Scott.
Hello.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you again.
Good to be here.
Well, I gave a little introduction about you, and so I would like to start this off by, I can read you a comment that someone's already left when I mentioned I was meeting you today on our Facebook page, Political Head Trauma on Facebook. Anita, she said, I had a great conversation with Scott about his ideas. It's worth taking the time to listen. We didn't agree on everything, but we agree on a lot. That to me is a successful comment, because no one's going to agree on everything. But I think you really got, that's pretty great.
Yeah, and that's actually the majority of the experience I've had when I'm out canvassing, knocking on doors, talking to people. It's been a great experience, but it's been even greater meeting our community and getting their input and finding out that they're just as frustrated as I am.
Yeah, but you decided to do something about it. I know that my neighbor across the street from my house has your sign up. And I walked over and I was like, hey, new sign. Yeah. He said, this guy was so great. We talked for a really long time. He had great answers. I really like his passion, and he's really smart guy. So that's another beaming plus. So I see your sign every day. It's in front of my house. So Scott, tell me, when did you attend the meeting in, was it June of last summer?
Yeah, I think August. If you're talking about the Truth and Taxation meeting,
Yeah,
I was there.
August.
And just like the rest of the community, I was angry because just before that, they released the state audit, right? About how poorly our education over the years has not been doing very well. And I've seen it firsthand with my kids and going through the school education system. And as being a teacher as well, substitute teaching as well. So seeing all this and witnessing firsthand the decline of our school education, and then the state audit confirming everything that I did see, I knew I had to step in and run and campaign and try to bring change to the school board, change their culture.
I love it. Well, and I know a lot of people left that meeting just angry, felt like they got slapped in the face with people, just deaf ears. Their good comments and their engagement fell on deaf ears.
Yeah,
it's how it looked.
They did not care. In fact, they already made up their mind. You could already tell. And that's why they weren't even listening. Some were even falling asleep, it looked like. So I thought it was very insulting for the community for sure. And yeah, it just looked like they didn't even listen.
And so this happened all over the state of Utah, actually, around that same time. A lot of school board meetings and truth and taxation meetings were happening, and a lot of votes were happening in spite of those meetings, to where they elected to have a large tax hike. Now, thanks to the Utah State Tax Commission, they did come in and evaluate the meeting and deemed it not legal. So this tax hike was thrown out, and because they did not inform or do the truth and taxation meeting properly. My worry was, don't worry, they'll do it again and they won't miss it this next time. But I've spoken to a couple of the school board members, and from what I've gathered is they're not attempting it again. But we'll see.
Probably not, because it's during a campaign that would not help their vote very well. So, but I think once they get reelected, of course they're going to do it, because they haven't cut back at all this year. on their budget, so they haven't learned anything. They're just taking it out of their surplus. The cost is still they're still not keeping within their budget.
So was that your reason? Is that what got you to decide to actually throw your hat in this ring?
So there's that reason, but there was the other reason of my kids' education and the lacking of it. So like Clark and Johnson, my son was going there, and I felt like his education was going backwards, not forwards in that school. Some of the teachers, they were, especially in his math class, it was terrible. They're like posting all the answers on the chalkboard. Yeah, they're getting great scores on their tests and assignments, but they weren't learning a thing. And so I pulled them out and transferred them to Excelsior. Luckily, thankfully, I was able to get them to that school where it had a multi-level education system that my kids did really well in that school. And I felt like they really helped them be able to catch back up, because they did get left. They did lose a lot during that time period at public education. So.
Now, I am the biggest Excelsior cheerleader of anyone I know. My kids have been there K through 8. And in fact, we just said goodbye to the school for the last time. But they have that system where they follow the child at the child's pace. And the child could be way, way, way smart in math in 6th grade, and not at a 6th grade level, but at an 8th grade level. And that child just gets moved to an 8th grade class in math. And it's nothing difficult. You're just moving them to where they fit. And I wish that our state school as a whole would take the lessons learned at Excelsior. And, Matt Hymas is the principal at Excelsior Elementary, and he's also our state school board member. If he was able to put something in place for all public school just to follow that, I imagine education would be outstanding here.
It'd be a lot better, for sure. I wish they'd go more on the merit-based system. So
yeah. And they don't teach a lot of social justice stuff. They teach real history. They teach real life. I mean, they base it on seven habits of highly successful people. That's awesome. Their genre. And they're trying to teach accountability, responsibility, and they teach history, and they make it fun. My kids loved history there.
Yeah.
And they're not diving into these other issues that really don't let kids, A, be kids, and B, grow up to do something with their life that will help them. Reading at the very best. Like, your child needs to know how to read on a 12th grade level when they graduate, if not higher.
That's what I don't understand. Why teach all these kids all these different types of information when they can't even read well or comprehend what they're reading? Get the foundation down first, make that really rock solid, and then you can build up from there. But some of these kids graduating, they don't know how to read well or comprehend in what they're reading, or even how to write well. A lot of them don't even know how to, write a paragraph with the correct punctuation. It's a mess. It's really bad.
And you're seeing it on TikTok. A number of teachers on TikTok talking about this exact same problem that they're seeing. They're seeing students who are getting passed, even though teachers are failing them because they cannot do it. And yet the schools themselves are giving them a passing grade, because what are we going to do with them? Hold them back another year? We don't have the resources. And yet that, to me, is a fail. That's the epitome of your job as a school, is to educate kids.
Yes, and I've personally seen that with my kids, how they lower the expectations just so they can graduate and pass their class. That's not a good way to do education.
That's so true.
That only fails the kids in the future.
So true. So tell me, what is it? I did share one of your campaign signs that you, or one of your campaign mottos, the excellence in education for every student, that you had from your flyer. Talk about that with me a little bit, about academic excellence.
Well, as you know, it's lacking in the school district. And that's why I'm really glad that we have choices. Every kid learns different, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by that. So some kids may thrive in the public school setting, right? That do well. Others might thrive on an online school setting. Others may do much better in homeschool, so there's a wide variety. But what's sad is a lot of kids don't have that choice, and they're stuck in the public school. That does not bode well for them, because the public school does not do well with the ones that are struggling, that are left behind, or the ones that could do much better. It's sort of to set one for all students, and it's just not working for every student.
Well, you get these smart kids who are, I have a student at the high school now, but he comes home and he'll tell me, I learned nothing today. They had us on our Chromebooks and we had no lesson. We were just on the Chromebooks reading chapters, and he's like, I don't even think I learned anything, and if anything, I was bored. And I got a lot of that from him. He's bored, and he's an excellent student, especially in math and English, history. So that is something that we have to think about. Some kids are already mentally past this, and if you're not having any place to put them to challenge them, they get bored and they don't show up, or they just don't do the work and they get a bad grade.
Yeah,
and
just
that's not good
really
either.
enthusiasm that they do have for learning. I experienced that with my kids too.
So you talk about raising the standard of education. As a school board member, how do you do that?
Well, we really need to, I think, revamp our education system. Do it more like Excelsior that we talked about earlier, multi-level learning. So kids that do want to be challenged more than the average class, they can. They have options to be able to do that instead of stuck in, the usual public setting.
Is that something that a Tooele County School District could do? Could they change the way they do public school on their own, or would that take the state, or would that take legislature? I don't know.
No, I think the school board, school district, they have control of being able to do some of these things as long as they teach the curriculum that the state set forth, right?
Yeah.
So as long as they reach that, they can go about teaching the way that they want. In fact, I think they're starting to at least do some research in trying to do multi-level learning. It's just going very slow.
Everything in government does. When the government runs something, it's expensive and it's slow and it's usually unsuccessful. It's hard to name anything the government has done well and, really well.
That's
Right.
why there's some private schools that excel so much more than public schools do in educating their students.
It's true. So as a school board member, this is something you would bring to the board and discuss?
Oh, definitely. It'll be one of my top priorities, actually.
Excellent. And again, Matt Hymas, he is the walking, living epitome of what it is that we want as Excelsior parents, especially because it is his school, and he is a big proponent for charters. I only wish they had built the high school so that my kids could take advantage of it.
Me too.
But the high schools apparently have to have $1 million stadium and multi-million dollar bleachers and suite seats, and a giant atrium that is just open and not using up space. And school boards got their hands tied where they can actually build items for the future. No, they have to build for what there is right now. So many schools, by the time they're open, are going to be too small for the population that was coming when they did the design. That's something I think legislature has to handle or rewrite. But that just seems ridiculous to me. Why aren't you looking at the new build,
And-
contracts that are out there?
Well,
And
the school
see-
district does that all the time.
And they don't build according to size
No,
minimum.
no.
So it just means we're going to need another $100 million bond in the future because those new high school is going to be too full pretty soon. And they're, Stansbury High School was busting at the seams for years, waiting for the Deseret Peak High School to be finished.
See, and that's one of the other top reasons why I'm running is because of the mismanagement of our taxpayer dollar. With that you just listed of the high schools, not planning for the future, but also just the multi-million-dollar mistakes that they've been making. Going back to that Taj Mahal High School that they spent a ridiculous amount of money on, wasted space, just overpriced, and they could have did it so much cheaper, and they didn't. So now, and then they went over budget, so they made other mistakes because of that. For example, canceling MyTech High, which was bringing in $50 million annually, not just one time, but every year into the school district. They canceled it because, well, they felt like it was lack of control over the MyTech High, but also they're like, well, we overspent on this high school. Let's just take that $50 million and pay off, and put it towards that over budget high school, that we over budgeted on. So, but
the thing is, the money wasn't coming, and they had it in their budget anyway.
yeah.
So
And what's sad
that's
is-
just an oversight that is too
And they
big
do
to ignore.
Well, they do that all the time. So they expect an outcome that they didn't fully research on, and if you don't have online students, then you don't get the money. So they just lost out that $50 million anyways.
It's really difficult. So when you talk about your campaign, what is it you find most people are sharing with you?
Well,
Most parents out there.
So I've talked to teachers and parents, right? So parents are frustrated because they feel like their students aren't getting the best education that they should be getting, and they're also frustrated because they voted to increase our property tax that many families in Tooele County are already struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, and they cannot afford another tax increase because our property value is already incredibly high, and it's gone up so fast. Honestly, I don't know how the school board isn't, have more money than they know what to do with at this point, with how much property taxes have gone up over the years.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just a
changed my house
mismanagement
payment by a few $1,000s. By at least, I think I pay an additional $800 a month now over the difference in the last 5 years, which that's not anything you bat an eye at, especially if you've got two parents working, and you'd have to take almost a second job in order to cover the difference. Then you get the cost, everything blowing up with gas and groceries, and the dollar bill isn't what it used to be. Wages aren't going up, and yet debt is just fine. More debt, we'll just raise taxes. Eventually you're taking money from people who don't have it.
Right.
And
if they
they
do get a
lose
little bit
their
of raise, if they do get a little bit of raise to try to get out, to get the upper hand on their finances, they don't want to see it just go poof, disappear into more taxes.
It's true. And the county gets a lot of crap because when they raise property taxes, a lot of people don't understand that it's 75% taxed by the school district. They get the rest. So your county roads and all the county, your sheriff's department and your jail and all those expenses do come out of property tax, of course, but it's such a small amount compared to what the schools get.
See, and that's why I think we need to relook at how we get the roads and the school education funded. I think there should be higher impact fees, especially for the high density housing, and that are bringing in all these extra roads that need to be built and extra schools that need to be built. So the developers, they're making lots of money off developing this land with high density housing, but they're not contributing to the future costs that this will occur into our community.
Yeah, I mean, that's a legislative question, if not at least a county council question.
That's why we need to get all the school boards together in Utah and go up and fight this with the legislator and make that change.
Yeah, well, there are some properties where when people have been foreclosed on said properties and owed a debt to the state for property taxes, the schools end up getting custody of that property.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
That's a high, powerful position to be in when you have taxing ability and you also have the ability to take property and put it in the district's name because you couldn't afford those taxes. It doesn't sit well with me. Now, the school board, I've met the members of the school board. They're good people. I know they want to serve their neighbors. I never see them as evil, trying to get one over on anybody. It's not like that at all. They are vested members of society. I just think that watching the way they behaved that evening at the Tooele High School with this truth and taxation meeting was, like you said, pre-planned. It looked as though they had a meeting before the meeting and they said, okay, we're going to pass this tonight, but you're going to vote against it and you're going to vote against it because maybe you're up for re-election next year. And we have a couple years to go. So people will forget because people do forget and they get on with the next thing because there's so much going on all the time. But that's how it felt. Their demeanor, the way they were discussing, and the way they voted, it felt to me so premeditated. And maybe that wasn't the perception they wanted to give. Maybe it wasn't even true. Maybe they did really just discuss it in front of people at that moment, but that is not the way it felt or looked to the average citizen that I spoke with that night.
Yeah, and personally, I have nothing against the board members. I just don't think we just can't have them making multi-million-dollar mistakes and have them have no accountability and not willing to cut back, and instead they just want to raise everybody's property tax. We can't have that. That's just a lazy way out that hurts everybody in the community.
Yeah. So my other question that evening that I wondered if you had dived into was how many directors we have that make over $100,000 a year. We are a school district of 16 schools, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
16 schools with, I think, 8 directors, and then the head of the schools of the district, who also makes probably $300,000. I'm not sure because when I look at it online, there includes bonus and benefit packages.
What's crazy is his benefit package is more than most people's salaries in Tooele County. It's ridiculous. So
Right.
yeah, if you combine that in his salary, he makes over $300,000 a year. And you can find all that stuff online at the utah.gov.
Right.
So and same with with his superintendents, assistant superintendents, administrators, a lot of them even make more than 200,000 if you include the benefits. 100,000. Look, we don't live in Beverly Hills. We don't even live in Park. We live in Twila County. We can't afford these ridiculously overpriced salaries. You know, it's crazy. And especially for the performance that they're having according to the state audit, it's not adding up.
Yeah, that's what gets me. I could see it if our kids' test scores were out the roof and we had teachers just pining to come to our county to work here. I could see making a case for salaries like that. But we have both in the negative. The audit showed that, and we were grateful that audit came out before their Truth in Taxation meeting. They probably are not grateful, but we certainly were, because, I mean, you saw how many teachers stood up and spoke at that meeting saying this doesn't make sense. We don't have the resources to give these kids a good education, and they certainly are spending their own money for their classrooms. And it's just, it's disappointing. And if all they're teaching is testing, if all they're teaching is that, and the rest of the time they're teaching Chromebook, where is the education for the kids coming from that is deep within them, to where they've learned it, they've memorized it, and they're retaining it for life? You know, equations, for example, or punctuation and rules for punctuation and spelling and things that are going to affect them as adults out in the job market.
Right. And I'd just like to add, so we do have a lot of amazing teachers in the school district. But we also have some teachers that aren't that great as well. It's a wide range. Not every teacher's the same. So I think the school district is doing a terrible job of training all teachers, you know, to be to the level of a lot of our amazing teachers, which affects every class. Because I know with my kids in elementary, we avoided certain teachers because we knew that teacher was not going to help our kids progress educationally. And I don't know if you experienced the same thing. I know other parents have. So it's out there, and we need to change, I think, our way of going about that, so we can train and have the best teachers and help the ones that are struggling overcome, you know, their teaching hurdles, or you know, they might need to find a new career in a field that will work better for them.
How do we know? Like, what's the best way to know what teacher? I know kids can choose a teacher of the year. I think at a lot of high schools, kids will vote for their favorite teacher. But I'm wondering how you gauge teachers who are exceptional without them getting, you know, in the gray zone where they're just forgotten about, or they're lumped in with a bunch of regular teachers who just show up for a paycheck. I know the most teachers I know love to teach. What I liked about Excelsior is that Excelsior gives them the freedom to teach a lesson the way they see fit. And the curriculum is the same of what they're supposed to teach, and they do testing for state tests there as well. But when you walk in and you see a teacher who's gone the extra mile and recreated the Constitutional Convention and is getting the kids excited about history, and to where they're coming home and talking about it and can't wait to go to class the next day. Like, how do we as parents, well, as taxpayers, how do we gauge those special teachers and then reward them in some way, while also finding and trying to sniff out the teachers that are just there for a paycheck that kids aren't learning from?
Who lost their passion or the desire to, you know, go beyond than just the basic, the low bar of teaching. I think that's the administration's job, really. That's why they're there, is to try to help all teachers. And teachers can also help teachers, right? And share what they do well and help so all teachers can teach with efficiency for their students in their class. But yeah, go ahead.
Chromebooks. You look at Chromebooks. And Excelsior, your kid will work on a Chromebook in one class, and it's usually computers or keyboard where they're typing, learning to type, and things like that. In high school, everyone has a Chromebook assigned to them, and every class uses it. And here we are trying to talk about screen time for kids and talk about, yes, they need to learn AI and they need to learn, important features of what AI can do for them, because that is their future, potentially their jobs that they want to do in life. If you're not on board with AI or understanding it, I understand there's a place there to take classes that'll teach you, in computer systems and AI systems. That should be definitely an important class. But to have it in every class and have it be the teacher is what my teenager feels like. Like his Chromebook is his teacher.
Right, and that's the problem. Chromebook should never replace the teacher in a public education system. That's why we want our students to go into public school, so they can get an actual teacher teaching their class, right? Of course, if use the technology as a tool, but don't replace it for teaching. And and that's what I'm talking about. We have some amazing teachers that don't replace their class with the Chromebook, and they actually teach the students well and use the technology as a tool to help the students continue learning at home. And that's what we needed. You brought up parents before I think I even came on, and it's true. The strongest districts in Utah are the ones with the most parent involvement and involvement with the community. And we need to give parents more tools and resources so they can help their students when they're away from the class in the school setting. Because the parents are not in the class where the teachers are teaching, so they have no clue what the kids are learning. So they need those resources to be able to help the kids when they do get home and they get stuck on a problem.
Yeah. I mean, COVID opened a lot of people's eyes, especially in this county, people I know personally, watching their child learn online with a parent listening to the lesson. A lot of people were like, what? Why is my kid learning this?
Well,
and that's
the whole COVID mess was terrible. Schools weren't ready for it. I mean, how would they know? But still, what they did have for the kids to learn online was terrible. They didn't learn during that period that they were at home because they didn't have the structure for it. They didn't have that online. So that's why I think the state hopefully learned from this and will implement a strong online base that the teachers can use, maybe to help, especially new teachers that can use that resource to help them teach their first year, and then they can expand and improve their class with that information that at least builds on the basic curriculum that the state wants every student to learn in Utah. But also that the parents can use, that the students can use. I think that's crucial, especially not only help them when they're sick for that day, or if they go on vacation, or if there's another COVID situation, kids won't be losing a year of school because of it.
Yeah. Well, the whole COVID thing was a joke, and I feel really lucky to live in a county that didn't stay on that for too long. We opened up pretty early, in the main
Thank
thing.
goodness.
Yeah, we did really well, but it's still the effects it had on our kids. We're going to have that documented for decades to come, because it really hurt our kids to have them away from their friends, away from their structure, and again, learning on a computer. And I mean, I remember my daughter in a spelling class. She was so good in it, and the teacher was teaching remotely but was wearing a mask. And I wrote to the school. I said, why is she wearing a mask? Because kids need to see her mouth moving. Because when she's saying ah, a, e, with the sounds and with the spelling, kids really need to see the mouth. And eventually they gave her a clear mask, which was fine. That was great. But I'm not sure that, I know I was in a great school and they do listen to parents and they do want parents engaged. I'm not sure it's the same in public school because I don't have a situation during COVID with that. I was not part of that. But for a school that I respect highly, that was just one little oversight that they were able to fix. But I bet a public school was doing it too.
Well, I know a lot of parents actually during that COVID period where the kids were trying to learn online, which was not going well. They're like, this is a joke. We're just going to homeschool our kids.
Yeah.
And gave them tools to be able to do it well. So that's why My Tech High was so good. Not only was it an online school, but it helped a lot of those homeschool parents to get the resources to be able to get the material that they need to help their kids learn the best at home.
Do you know what happened to My Tech High?
It's a different name now. So they went to a different school district. They're like, yeah, we'll take them and get all this state funded, so it's working great for them. But they changed the name to, I want to say OpenEd. I don't know. I can't remember the exact name. So I'm not.
It's okay. I was just curious. When they left Tooele County School District, did they leave by their own choice or was the district done with them? Because I'm still figuring out how they forgot to take the money from the state out of their budget when they no longer have this program.
Well, I've heard different reasons why. I heard that school district will say, well, other school districts did this and they were able to keep the money, but it wasn't such a large amount that our school district was getting. So, the other school district that just picked up My Tech High, they're like, yeah, we'll get that $50 million and help towards our school district. And they snatched them right up.
Yeah, I wouldn't, what? I think every high school should be built with the thought of online learning happening in the high school as well, in a different part of the school where you have teachers who come to work and they teach online. And, there's that option where kids can take an online course or homeschool kids can come into the school and take a science course, take a sports course or whatever.
I know some homeschool students can come into public school and still get that social interaction, club, sports. And we need more of that.
But I'm thinking the opposite side where high school kids can actually do a couple courses from home if they think that's better.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be awesome. Or like you said, having an online option at school too. Just because every student learn, like my son, he would have done much better online than at public school. That's just how his brain worked. So I think definitely having more options for kids to be able to do that is so important.
And it's a way to, for the kids that don't want to be there or don't learn well in that setting, it's a way to accommodate them while also lessening the giant numbers of kids that are in the high school. And it also gives teachers who maybe want to retire soon or really are great teachers, but they just want to do it part-time. It gives them that opportunity to host classes at the school for online kids or even at their home. Wherever they are. But I just think that would be cool. And you have to build less classrooms with something like that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So when you talk about voting no against raising taxes, it's all great until you get in the seat, right? And you learn the whole story rather than the side of the story that you know as a taxpayer and as a dad of an educated child. So when you get in that seat, I'm curious, what taxes, I mean, what if they tell you that we can't afford, sorry, take care of that. What if they tell you that we can't afford to run the school system next year without raising taxes? How do you make a decision based on that? I mean, you may have to raise taxes, but I understand you're going to try at all costs not to.
Well, see, okay, so from my experience of budgeting with a small business and personally, if we're out of money, we need to reprioritize our budget so we can have more money. Even with a fixed income, you can do that. You can find out what, because daily we can see the wasteful spending, at least I can. Just driving by the school district, all these cars in the parking lot not being driven, collecting dust, it's ridiculous. So I know there's spending that's being wasted, or that can be reprioritized, so they'll be able to have more money. I just have to look at their budget. I think their budget need to be itemized for every dollar. You need to know where every dollar goes and make sure that every dollar, has value. And I value every dollar, and I value every tax dollar. And just from how they spend all this money on a ridiculously expensive high school, it doesn't show to me that they value everybody's tax dollar. So that's why I'm pretty confident that we should not need to raise taxes. And that's why I'm confident that I will not vote to raise taxes, because we can reprioritize those budgets and make every dollar work harder. We have to.
I love that. And yeah, I think that if you have that mantra going in, then whenever it comes out that we're going to need more taxes, well, maybe calling public meetings and trying to explain that to the public in a way that isn't, I don't know, pre-planned.
That's the thing, right? The community, if they are communicate well, when they know what's going on, they'll come together and make the right decisions. They did that like about around 10 years ago when teachers were way underpaid in our school district. And they're like, okay, look, we need to increase taxes. We're going to let you guys vote on it. But this is why we feel like you should vote to increase the taxes for the benefit of increasing the teachers' pay, which really had to be done because we were losing teachers like crazy. And the community pulled together and did what was right and raised the taxes because we did know how important it was for those teachers to get a competitive salary. So I think I really don't think should be up to the board of 7 to make these huge decisions for everybody in the community, especially how they've been spending and making these multi-million-dollar mistakes, and for the results that they've been having with the latest state audit that was presented.
I couldn't agree more. You know what was so freaky to me is having a 16-year-old, signed him up and paid for driver's ed, and he did the whole class, the whole semester. He didn't get in a car once. I get an email saying that in the summer you can sign your kid up and they'll put him behind the wheel with a teacher. Tell me, what the heck is that? And they ask that parents do 40 hours with their child before they get their license. I can appreciate that. My kid needs all the experience he can get. But what did I pay for in that class? He didn't even get in a vehicle. I don't even think he got in a simulator. It doesn't take 5 months or however many months to learn what's on the test.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it should be experience with someone who is a neutral party, a teacher guiding your child through driving. Many parents get so freaked out or too emotional. It's not every parent can teach their child to drive, and I get that. But what's the point of the class? Why not just send them to an online school at that point?
Right, or a private driver.
DMV.
Right. I totally agree. It seems like to me that in a lot of ways, a lot of the education that's happening now is worse than when we went to school. And It
Yeah.
should be the exact opposite, right? They should be so far above us with all the technology and years of refining and perfecting the school education.
And they literally have any question right in their hands.
Yeah.
Most of them.
And I feel like it's gotten worse. And what's just like the driver's ed thing, I can remember when I was learning how to drive, the first time I even drove a car was with my driver's ed teacher, and
Yeah.
he had a brake on his side that he can stop the car before I hit a post or something, right? A curb.
Yeah.
But now, us parents have to be the one to have the kids drive for the first time, and we don't have a brake on our side. So I'm like,
And the car insurance for an unlicensed teenager,
mhm,
especially a boy,
yeah,
is ridiculously
it is.
expensive. So
Yeah, I
6 months of the school teaching my kid how to drive would have been perfect,
mhm.
because then you drive with them. Yes, you do the hours with them. I think that's fine. But to get them before they're in your car trying it, they should have done it in a driver's ed car.
Exactly.
How's
They
that?
can stop at the brake. Because I can remember the first time driving with my kid, it was in a church parking lot, and that's relatively pretty safe. But he was heading straight towards a curb. I'm like, stop, yelling, and I try and push the invisible pedal that was not there. And I think it would have just been a lot better if like how I was raised how to drive, is have the driver's ed teacher take the kids out and have control over the car, at least on his side with the brakes, and teach them properly instead of the parents trying to do it, which, it worked. He learned how to drive well, got his driver's license, both of my kids, when they're 16, but it's just funny how education has shifted in that area.
Yeah, and it's probably a resources issue. Maybe they didn't have enough cars, or maybe they didn't have enough teachers. I don't know what the issue is. I just think that,
Well, they should have enough cars because they're all parked at the school district.
yeah, I mean, I think that, you said it. When education goes backwards instead of forward, I mean, in this day and age, there should be simulators that are pretty high tech for not as much money as they used to cost. Where you can have simulators in there where kids are driving on a simulator before they're out in a car with a teacher. And then when they get done with the class, then they go get their driver's license like we did when we were younger. It's weird. We are stepping backwards, and it just didn't make sense. And then instead of, you want your kid to drive, summer school, send them during the summer for this hours, and they can drive with a teacher. It's crazy.
You know what's sad? When I went through English class, we read out the textbook, we read out books, to improve our reading. Now, a lot of the kids in middle school, they just hear it from the audio book. They're just listening. They're not actually reading. How can they improve their reading skills if they're just listening to it? It just makes zero sense to me.
I mean, unless they're being told to follow along.
Well, they follow along, but how many do? They don't. They just
And yeah, you miss the kids when you're doing popcorn reading or whatever it's called.
Mhm.
You miss the kids who are having a hard time. Yet some people would tell you, oh, you're embarrassing them. It causes unnecessary anxiety. No, as a teacher, it tells me I need to give more time to that child. They're struggling with reading. And stop them before they go on too far. But, the randomize who reads next, it should be a good thing.
And that's what I want to change. We need to change the way that we teach our kids how to read. Like, they need to go in smaller groups, which some school districts are doing it. Cache, I know, is doing it, and their reading results are amazing, especially compared to our students' results, because they have that individual where they can get smaller groups of kids reading, like 3 or 4 that are more of their skill level. So for one, they're not as embarrassed to be able to read, but they can improve their reading skills where they're at currently. We need to do much better at that, and we're just not doing it, at least in this school district. And what's sad is there's a volunteer group, Twila Army Corps for Seniors, and they want to help our Twila County School District to volunteer and to help do just that, and the school district won't let them. So we're in need of improving our education, of funding education better for our students, and they're not utilizing the volunteers that are available to this day. It drives me crazy. And why
What,
not?
if you have a son, a boy, the impact that reading has on their life is so crucial. And so having them be able to read and write stories, or, use abbreviations and punctuation. The study that I read regarding that was that less boys are going to college, less boys they get into high school age, and a teacher will tell them to write a short story. They'll tell the girls and the boys, and the girls will write a short story that starts, and there might be a love story, or it might have emotional stuff in it, and it's very touching because that's what girls do, and that's how girls think. And then a boy will write a short story that may have aliens and transformers in it taking over the world, and the teacher will grade that child differently by the content, and yet the child did the same thing. He wrote a short story, but that's the mindset. It was PragerU that did this study, and it was so fascinating because they also knew more boys were missing college and going into private, either tech schools or, just teaching themselves how to do jobs. And I think there's a big problem with that because boys are likely to not get graded the same or treated the same when it comes to reading, and yet it is such a huge importance. Reading is a basic necessity in job market, period. So kids that are getting missed, that doesn't just affect them when they get out of high school, but it affects them forever.
Well, the whole purpose of education is to teach the kids to learn how to learn. And the best way to do that is to read well, comprehend what they're reading, write correctly, and why they're not focused more on that foundation to help them throughout their whole life, not only in high school, middle school, but in universities. And universities know that they even have a problem with high school graduates not knowing how to write. They have a whole writing center that these students, if they have to do a report, they just take it to the writing center and have them do all the punctuation, make sure everything's, looking good, because they don't know how to do it themselves. And then they graduate, and the employers are like, "Wait a minute, you don't know how to write this email? How could you not be able to write this after graduating from college?" And they're like, "Well, because we have writing labs and writing centers that did it for us." It's crazy. They don't put more emphasis on it.
Well, I really think that every parent that may be listening, or grandparent even, I hope that you are engaged somehow with your kids and their schooling, even if it's just something as simple as grandma says, "Hey, come read to me for a little bit," or, "Come sit down, let's do your homework together," and make sure that the child has support at home. A lot of kids don't. A lot of kids just don't do their homework. Either they don't understand it, or they just are going for that D because they know they're not going to get any better. And that's so sad to me because you can teach this with the right patience, with the right teacher, with the right concept. Maybe some kids are great learners on a computer, but
Mhm.
other kids need that hardcover book and to thumb through those pages. And yet, some are visual learners, some are listening learners. It's so nice at the thought of sitting down with Matt Hymas and saying, "Hey, can you explain how this structure that you're running so well at your school is working and how we can implement it into public school so that our kids here are learning at their own level and in their own pace and they're learning well. They're retaining what they've learned." Like
Right.
if that could be done, that would be incredible in my opinion. And I can't think Republican or Democrat or independent. I mean, why wouldn't you want that?
I totally agree.
So I don't know. I know I've seen you at a lot of Republican events,
Mhm.
which is not the norm. That's really, really cool.
Well,
And so
we went out of our way to be able to do that because I think it's important.
I
Um, yeah. And to personally, I'm fiscal conservative, right? So I am all for lower taxes and making sure that every dollar is has every tax dollar is treated with respect and is not wasted.
appreciate that for sure. I really appreciate knowing that you're a fiscal conservative. That means a lot. And
It's all tied together, right? If you place every dollar with importance, you'll make sure that every dollar goes where it needs to be and should be the priority should be for the student's education. My whole decision making will be, does this improve the student's education? Because that should be the number one priority in education. Everything else filters down from there.
I agree. And you are searching or you are running for District 5. So
Correct.
let people know what that covers.
It's a really weird boundary. So, and it's hard to explain. You can find it at the Tooele County
The
School
clerk's office.
District website, and just scroll, and it has the board district map right there. It's highlighted, it's colored in purple. But yeah, it ranges from Stansbury Park all the way down to Wendover. And it's only half of, well, not even quite half, less than half of Stansbury and less than half than Grantsville and all of Wendover. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, but it's good because some people, and I am this person. For the longest time, before my kids were in school, I never even bothered to know who was running for school district. And what's funny is I also didn't put two and two together, the power they had over my monthly income.
Mm-hmm.
Because with taxing ability and with the need for education in Utah to be great, I remember when Governor Herbert was sitting up doing a State of the State address, and he was celebrating the fact that it was over 11 years and graduation levels had gone up 6%. And they'd only spent, I think it was it was 11%, but they had spent $6 million, if not billion, over the short time, over 11 years, over a decade.
Uh-huh.
And they were all standing up and applauding. And I went, we spent how much and only received that? And that alarmed me. And my kids were little then. I had them at Excelsior, and I was highly engaged at their school all the time. Excelsior does require, parents work, part of the, because it is a charter, parents donate their time as well. And I loved it. I knew the teachers very well. I knew the staff and administration very well. And I knew what was going on in my kids' classrooms. And I was able to do and stay on top of it. But I just thought, that's so much money to spend on such a small outcome. And yet I also remember in 2002 when the Olympics were here in Utah, and I was flying home from somewhere on the plane, and they were doing fun facts about Utah. And in 2002, Utah was the number 1 most literate state in the nation. We were number 1 in 2002.
Well, we're still incredibly high.
What?
Sorry, I'm saying Utah is still incredibly high when it comes to education over, the rest of the country.
Right. But I know that
it has a lot to do with parent involvement in community, and why this school district doesn't focus more on that is puzzling to me.
Right. And you know what? Maybe it's just you're yelling out into a canyon and it's all echoes, because trying to get people engaged in anything is difficult. You'll find that in your campaign time. Trying to get people to give you 10 minutes to tell you what bothers them and to talk to you about ideas. I'm sure that has not been easy for you. Campaigns are rough, and that has an absolute effect on their life. So trying to get parents engaged is probably exhausting. I mean, look at the school board meetings. How many people really attend them?
Yeah, well, not very many, but who knows how many are listening online. So I go to the board meetings. If I can't make it, then I listen to it online.
And that's what I do as well.
But so
if I remember.
Yeah. So it is kind of frustrating, like going to parent-teacher conference and not seeing a whole lot of parents there. Or what's really gets me is when I do go and the teacher's not there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why a lot of parents have a problem with, is when they do come, some of the teachers aren't even there, so they wasted a whole trip, especially if it's a class that they really needed to talk to with, because their student's not doing very well in it. And I know I've written emails to some teachers. There's some teachers that answer, back correctly. They're always at parent-teacher conference. Those are the amazing teachers, right? But there's some teachers that don't even reply to your email. So it is frustrating as a parent that is trying to help their student not be able to get the resources or the information that they can get to help their student.
You know what irritates me is my child is having a problem in a class.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell him, because I'm trying to teach him how to adult, I tell him, you need to write your teacher a respectful email and get clarification on something and ask what your next step is. So he will do that, and he'll tag me in it. And I will see teachers ignore him. And I'm thinking, why would a teacher not take the child serious who is asking for, help or asking for clarity? Does it have to be the parent that emails on behalf of the child? What are we teaching children then? That they don't matter, that their voice doesn't matter, even when it's their issue they're trying to solve.
Right.
And then you also go to parent-teacher conference, like you said, and out of my child's however many classes he has, I see 2 teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is, for sure.
It's crazy. And, at Excelsior, they always want the child communicating with the teacher if they have questions over email.
Yeah.
And that's what he was taught.
That's how
so he gets to high school and he's trying to figure out his issues. Oh no, they don't even answer him.
Yeah.
So then I have to email, and then it looks like I'm against the teacher. No, I'm on the teacher's side 9 times out of 10. But I get very irritated that they will ignore their actual student. And it would take me getting involved to just get answers about what's happening on this quiz coming up, or Or have you graded this item yet? Because my grade is showing very low, but I've turned everything in weeks ago. Things like that. So I think it's really, really important for parents to be engaged, but it's also important that we let our kids take control of what's going on with them at school and to give them their voice. And we want kids to be taught how to think for themselves, right? Not what to think.
Mm-hmm.
I think if a school can do that, and that's what I felt like Excelsior focused on too, we're not going to feed you a narrative. We want you to come up with your thinking so that you can decide what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And again, I'm so sad that they were not able to finish a high school, but Excelsior is self-funded and a lot through volunteers and fundraising. Do we even have the junior high there? So hopefully we can get a high school built there for future kids who maybe not be into sports or theater or some, high schools have so many extracurriculars that they accommodate, which I loved. I was part of that in high school. But for kids like mine who are more care about school itself more and not extracurriculars, I could see it being a huge help to a kid like that whose just goal focuses on college or their goal focuses on a certain career and they want to learn and they want to do well.
And that's why in the meantime, we need to improve the public education that we have so all of the students can receive that high quality education.
Totally agree.
Having to be able to, because there's parents that are working, like you said, 2 jobs, they don't have time. Some might not have time to be able to take them to Excelsior or to work there because they're just trying to survive financially. So that's why it's so important to improve the public education and focus on that as well.
I agree, and I'm so grateful. So tell people how they can get in touch with you if they have questions. If you have comments.
You can email me at scottbertoglio@hotmail.com, or you can personally call me at 435-770-3067, or text me, whatever works best for you. I am open. I love talking to teachers, to parents, even to students. I'm open. So. And give me feedback, input, ask me all types of questions. I'd love to answer them.
Excellent. And I'm going to try to put that on the Facebook post, your phone number and everything. I'll add that after the show. Okay. And is there anything else that you wanted to discuss before we wrap this up?
Just one more thing. We didn't talk a lot about like the teachers because they have to deal with a lot.
Yes.
And not only try and teach the students, but dealing with discipline issues. Because really, at least from my past experience as a teacher and talking to teachers, the administration, they don't have a good answer to help with teachers to be able to manage their classes correctly or efficiently. So they need a lot more support in that, because I think that's a lot of teachers why they have such a low morale is because the students don't have consequences when they do act poorly in their classes or in school when they don't follow the rules.
I would like to open that up actually, because I think you are absolutely right. We have talked about teachers. Some of my favorite humans on this planet are teachers, and they were my kids' teachers, and I just adore them. I think you're absolutely right. In public schools, especially with the amount of teachers, the amount of students, it's hard for the administration to back teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's lacking.
Yes.
Tualatin County did the mobile phone issue. where you can't have a mobile phone on during class time. I think that might have helped. However,
Hoping.
this was a big oxymoron because they said no cell phones, but yet a lot of teachers will have you turn your homework in by taking a picture and emailing it to the teacher.
Yeah.
So they were good for them integrating technology that's in the classroom already into your lesson, but at the same time, those are huge, they're a distraction for a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phones or iPads or whatever, or their very own Chromebook that they have sitting in front of them. Teachers should have absolute support from the administration.
Yes.
And I know a lot do not. Also, they don't control how many class sizes, what their class sizes are,
Mm-hmm.
which means 1 to 30, a 1 to 30 ratio on a student versus teacher. And we always say that this generation is disrespectful. I think every generation before us says the same thing. But I feel like we've got kids who do not respect teachers more than usual. And I don't have any proof for this. I just know what teachers tell me, and maybe parents are not engaged at all. They don't know what's going on with their kid. They don't care about F's on a report card. They're busy in their own life trying to get food on the table and stuff, but it puts teachers in a very, very tough spot if they're not getting support from the administration and from parents.
I think we really do need to change the whole mindset of education. Instead of it being like an expectation for students to go to school, it should be more of a privilege. And if they don't keep within the rules, then kids really need some serious consequences so they will follow the rules. Or else how?
Online school.
What's that?
If a child can't behave themselves in a classroom, then they probably need to go to an online high school.
Right, or something like, or homeschool, or something like that, until they can prove to be able to be in a classroom setting. Because not only do they distract themselves from learning, they distract all the other classmates from learning. It makes it less efficient for the teacher to be able to teach properly in that class.
The teacher is spending their time focused on a child who is misbehaving, and it robs everybody else in the classroom of that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. And I guess this is a tale as old as time, right? But
there's
the difference was classes weren't this big either.
Well, instead of improving this situation, they've made it worse because now they tie the teacher's hands behind their back where they can't discipline the students. They can't give real consequence. And same to the principal office is not like it was when I was a kid. It's more of a reward for the student. The principal doesn't do a whole lot to correct the problem. They just make the kid feel good and send them back into class so they can continue disrupting the class.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. We've created this participation trophy society. So we've got a lot of kids that cannot take criticism, let alone discipline from someone like a teacher, someone they're supposed to show respect to. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I know it is really difficult for teachers in high school because you've got these, and junior high, you've got these kids who just don't respect them and will mistreat them, and they don't care they're bothering their class. And sadly, when the parent is talked to about it, the parent doesn't care either, or the parent sees their child as a victim in some way. And I don't want to tell someone how to parent their child by any means, but if you can't give your child at least people to respect, that's what you're paying for, is for them to get educated. Why would you even want them misbehaving when that's their opportunity for the rest of their life of where they go from there?
Mm-hmm.
Parents should be engaged, absolutely. and teachers should have support. And I totally believe in that.
Yeah.
If it's not from the parent, then at least from the school. And I came from a time where my dad would go sit in a classroom with one of my brothers the whole day
Hmm.
if it meant getting his grades up.
Yeah,
And
I
he
wonder
had to himself.
how bad it has to get before things change. I mean, it's already pretty bad, but what will it take to change that whole culture into doing something different so there can be more control in the school and in the teacher's classroom.
Absolutely. Now, if you want to share any of this video or cut it up and slice it and do whatever, you are welcome to it.
All
I
right,
am so grateful that you came on.
yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This is my first podcast, so
Really?
the opportunity. Yes.
You did great. You did
Wow.
great. And I appreciate you working with me on the day.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we will see you again. So
Thank-
after Tuesday,
Yes.
we'll have the primary results.
Mhm.
How many will go to the general?
What's that?
How many board members go to the general election?
So 2
2 from each district.
from each district. Yes.
Gotcha. So that's great. I did miss one of the ones running. I missed the young lady out of Lake Point
Oh.
who is running, and I couldn't get her on time before the election came out, so I'm bummed about that. But everybody, maybe it's time to give these incumbents the day off and bring in some new blood, new faces, and people who have the same values that you have, at least politically, and people who will look at budgets the way you look at budgets when you're sitting home determining your bills. And you want people who are going to spend your money wisely and are going to educate your child and make that the number one issue. And that goes along with not just educate your child, but make sure that teachers have the freedom to educate the way they see fit with the curriculum, and that teachers are getting support both from the district or the school they're in, as well as the school board. I think a lot will get done when you make teachers happy. You will see grades go way better. Kids will learn a lot faster if they're being taught by somebody happy about being there. I mean, that just is, it's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Well, I appreciate you tonight. Do you have a website?
I don't have a website. I do have a Facebook.
Okay.
Called Bertolio for Board of Education #5. So.
And Bertolio is spelled Bertilio, correct?
Tolio.
Tolio, right. I'm so sorry. So it's Scott Bertolio, and look him up on Facebook and reach out to him, send him a message. He does have his phone number all over on his page. So I think send him a text and let him know what your thoughts are. And if you're a teacher, definitely reach out to him. This is really huge. It's a huge opportunity because it's anyone's race at this point. And I see so many citizens who just want change, period. They do not want the school board that pulled that truth and taxation meeting and voted against the Tooele County residents so blatantly. And you have all of them being challenged. I mean, you've got everyone's being challenged by people, and a lot of the people are saying it's because of that meeting. So,
And honestly, that's a good thing. We need all offices. I think need to be challenged.
sure.
To get the best candidates.
It keeps people engaged and it keeps them accountable, and it requires that they communicate with the people who put them there.
Yes.
And a lot of incumbents don't bother. I haven't seen any events with any of the school board members that are incumbents. However, I have seen you on more than one occasion.
I try to go out of all of them.
That's great. That's great. And I think saving people tax dollars, I think, even Democrats can get behind that.
Yes.
But it's a nonpartisan race. You've shared how you view taxes, and I love that. And it's something I can certainly get behind as well. So I'm excited. You are in my district, so I'm excited for you. And there's already a sign in my neighbor's yard, which is smart because we're in a dead end, and it's his that people see. So I won't bug you for a sign. But if you would like a sign, reach out to Scott. And election is on Tuesday. Your ballot should already be at your house. If you have not gotten them and you are a registered voter, please, registered Republican, please reach out to Tracy Shaw, the primary for the Republican Party.
And make sure you don't mail it because that's past due. It won't get there on time. So make sure you drop it off at the actual ballot box.
By 8 p.m., you get your ballot on Tuesday to a ballot box. Stansbury Park has one at the fire station, and when fire station in Grantsville, and you've got a few places you can also vote in person.
Yes, and you can actually drop it off at the county office too.
Yes, there's voting boxes all over the county. So check out the Twilla County Clerk's page. She has got that lined out there. And I wish you all a happy Juneteenth and a wonderful upcoming weekend. And I will see you next week. Anything else, Scott?
No, just happy to be here. Thank you for your time, and please reach out.
Perfect. I will put his phone number in the show notes. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Great show.
Bye.
Bye.